Have you ever felt haunted by something that didn't happen to you, but still lives in your dreams? What if the nightmares you've carried for years aren't just your imagination? What if they're echoes of someone else's pain, passed through blood, memory, and time itself? This is the chilling, true story of April Balascio, a woman plagued by unshakable visions, recurring nightmares, and an instinct she couldn't explain, until she discovered her father was a serial killer. But this is not just a tale of true crime. This is a paranormal journey through ancestral memory, karmic ties, and the dark psychic residue of a killer's soul. April Balascio grew up in a shifting cloud of unease. From the outside, her childhood appeared ordinary. Her father, Edward Wayne Edwards, was charismatic, clever, and had the kind of chameleon-like charm that made others trust him instantly. He was the kind of man who could talk his way into any room, any heart, and any alibi. But within the walls of their home, something felt off. April couldn't name it, not at the time. There were no overt signs of violence. No raised voices. No bruises. Yet she felt it in her bones, a tension that never quite lifted, a stillness that wasn't peaceful. She recalls fleeting moments that seemed innocuous then, but chilling in hindsight. The way he locked doors compulsively, even in the safest neighborhoods. His fascination with police reports. The late-night drives with no destination. The way he looked at her, not with love, but with calculation. As April grew older, the unease deepened. She began having vivid nightmares. Dreams of being chased through woods. Of blood on her hands. Of voices crying out in the dark. They weren't her memories, not from this lifetime, at least. And yet, they felt personal, lived in. Like echoes from a past life. She began to journal them, documenting every image, every scream, every impossible detail. It wasn't until her late 30s, married with children of her own, that the dreams returned with a vengeance. But this time, they were tied to real places. Real names. She saw faces she didn't recognize, until one night, she saw a news story on a cold case, Tim Hack and Kelly Drew, a young couple murdered in 1980. And suddenly, it all made sense. They had been killed in Wisconsin, near where her family had lived. During the exact time they were there. She remembered her father's sudden decision to move, his nervous energy, the way he scrubbed the garage floor obsessively for days. She couldn't unsee it. She couldn't unfeel it. Something inside her, a knowing that defied logic, screamed for her to act. She did the unthinkable. She turned her father in. DNA evidence confirmed her worst fears. Edward Wayne Edwards was guilty. Not just of one murder, but of 5 confirmed killings. Some believe the number could be much higher. Dozens. Maybe more. The man who had tucked her in at night had also stolen the light from other families. April's world shattered. But from the ashes, something remarkable emerged. She began speaking publicly about her experience, sharing her story not just as a daughter of a killer, but as a woman who had carried the spiritual weight of his actions without knowing why. Psychologists would call it inherited trauma. Epigenetics. The science of pain passed through generations. But spiritual communities see it differently. They call it ancestral memory. A karmic burden. A soul contract. Was April meant to be the one who stopped the cycle? Was her soul tied to her father's by something deeper than blood? Had she lived a past life connected to one of his victims? Or perhaps even been the soul tasked with guiding him toward justice? These questions haunted her long after the trial. She began exploring spiritual paths. Reiki. Ancestral healing. Meditation. She sought out shamans, therapists, and past life regressionists. In one session, She saw herself as a young woman in the 1950s, strangled by a man with the same eyes as her father. She woke from the regression shaking, crying, but feeling lighter. As if something had been released. Her story began resonating with others. Survivors of trauma. Children of violent men. Women with unexplainable fears and dreams. They saw themselves in her. And she saw in them the same pattern, a web of pain woven through time, begging to be unraveled. April became more than a whistleblower. More than a survivor. She became a kind of spiritual detective, piecing together the hidden map of her soul. And in doing so, she began healing not just herself, but those who carried similar burdens. She wrote letters to the families of her father's victims. She didn't expect forgiveness. Only understanding. She told them she dreamed of them before she knew their names. She dreamed of their last moments. Their voices. Their fear. And she promised to carry their memory forward, not in guilt, but in reverence. Her journey wasn't linear. There were setbacks. Flashbacks. Doubts. But there were also breakthroughs. Her children began to sleep better. The nightmares stopped. Her health improved. Her marriage deepened. And most importantly, she no longer feared her dreams. She welcomed them. She began to understand that her role wasn't to carry the pain forever. It was to transform it. To be the alchemist of her lineage. To turn darkness into insight. And insight into light. Her story teaches us something profound, that the soul remembers what the mind forgets. That justice can begin in a whisper. That healing can come from the most unexpected places, even from within the bloodline of a killer. So if you've ever had a dream that felt more real than life, a fear that made no sense, a pull toward stories of others' pain, you might not be broken. You might be remembering. Healing. Awakening. April Balaschio's life reminds us that we are not just the children of our parents. We are the continuation of many lives. Many stories. Some dark. Some light. All sacred. And sometimes, we are the ones chosen to break the cycle. Thank you for listening to her story. May it inspire you to look within, to trust your knowing, and to honor the unseen threads that guide your path.